Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to Nip Talk, the internet's favorite show about plastic surgery, health, and beauty. Today's segments, first off, can Ozempic save your life? There's a new study that says maybe it can. And then, the top 10 riskiest cosmetic surgeries. I don't know about this list. We're going to talk about it. And then finally, a fake plastic surgeon is arrested for doing surgery without a license. What? It's all coming up right now.
Live from Lincoln Center in the heart of the Dallas Metroplex, this is Nip Talk, an honest and uncensored show about plastic surgery, health, beauty, and lifestyle. With your host, plastic surgeon Dr. Bruce Hermann, and your co-host, entrepreneur and social media influencer Sarah Bennett. Now it's time to discuss the good, the bad, and the ugly of the topics everyone is talking about. It's time for Nip Talk.
Welcome back, everybody. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Please hit that like and subscribe button and turn on those notifications. It really helps us out. I'm your host, plastic surgeon Dr. Bruce Hermann, and with me is the wonderful Sarah.
Hi.
Wonderful Sarah. I caught you off guard there.
Yeah.
In the box, we got Travis. How are you, buddy? Always good to see you.
I'm great. How about y'all?
Doing good. It's a good Friday. Well, it's not Good Friday, but it's good to be Friday.
Absolutely.
It's good to be here on Friday.
I know. I was just talking about that. Like, it's starting to cool off a little bit, which really
Yeah.
makes me excited. I haven't.
It was windy. It was windy yesterday. So.
Was it? I didn't notice. I guess it's always kind of windy around here. You know,
I
actually.
think it's a storm coming.
Yeah, it was. It
Oh,
was
right,
like
it's supposed to
really.
rain
There was
soon.
like a
Yeah.
storm, like more. Well, in Denton, it didn't storm. It just kind of like maybe rained.
It's funny
a
because the
little bit,
Metroplex is so big that like you could have like a horrible thunderstorm on one side, and then on the other side it's like perfectly fine because it's like 100 freaking miles across, like
Yeah.
literally.
That's
Wild
right.
like that. Dude, speaking of windy, this is kind of interesting. I read something the other day. It was actually somebody griping about Dallas, which, you know, it's fine. Dallas, I love living in Dallas, but like it's not, you know, doesn't have everything, right?
Yeah.
And they were complaining about the wind, and then they said that statistically Dallas is windier than Chicago, which is,
Really?
of course, the windy city. I don't know. It is kind of windy around here. I think because it's so flat, you
Right.
know. And we don't have like a lot of topography to break up the winds. I mean,
Well, aren't we like in like the tornado?
we're
alley
definitely in
too?
Tornado Alley. Like, we're on the edge of it.
Yeah.
It's crazy though. I used to live out in West Texas, up in the Panhandle, when I was in medical school at Texas Tech. And dude, the thunderstorms up there are like next level. Like, I know.
Is it pretty flat there though, right?
Yes, yeah. It's like you could see like Dallas from Lubbock. Like if you stand on a step stool, like it's so flat.
Steps.
But man, the storms up there are like next level. Like, it's kind of crazy, you know, because here they can get pretty bad, especially if you're not from around here and like one rolls through, you're like, dang, that was a bad storm. But up there in the Panhandle, they're like wild. So how did we get on weather? Oh, because it's cooling off.
Yeah.
I noticed I was in this big long ramble, and I was like, where did we come from?
Hey, I'm so excited just that they brought back the fall flavors at Starbucks. I know.
Oh,
I think
dude.
I said that
You and my
last
daughter,
time.
like, she was like, pumpkin spice latte? Yes, please.
Yes. And I bought creamer for my house that's pumpkin spice.
I do have to say, I'm always excited
favorite.
at the end of August because, I mean, if you're not from Dallas, it is blistering hot in August, like crazy. And it's so weird because it's almost like when September 1st rolls around, it's like there's like somebody flips a big switch and it just suddenly cools off. It's weird. Like, it's pretty quick, I think. I don't know, am I crazy?
I love whatever switch it is that they flip.
I know. I mean,
I absolutely love it.
I love it here because like it could be like super warm in the winter and I just don't like cold, but man, August sucks.
It does.
But this is the last day of August.
Except that it's my birthday month, but
What day was your birthday?
the 20th.
Did I just tell you?
I think we talked about it.
Oh, okay. Oh. Yesterday was my wife's birthday. Happy birthday, Cindy, if you're watching.
Happy birthday.
Yep. All right, let's jump into some segments. This first one is pretty big, you know, and this segment is about can Ozempic, which is the GLP-1 agonist, and all of the GLP-1 agonists, can they save your life? And I used Ozempic because that's the one that's the brand name for semaglutide, and everyone recognizes that one. But there are other ones out there like the Wegovy and tirzepatide and all of these different ones.
Yeah.
And you know these things have exploded, right? I mean, I don't know. Do y'all's friends talk about
Absolutely.
Yeah, I have two people
Okay.
that I know that are
We
on
never
it.
know, because like some people talk about it with me because I'm in the biz or whatever.
Yeah.
But a lot of people may not talk about it. But I tried to pull up some data, and then this is hard to know because there's so many people on the compounded versions of these, so that's a lot harder to track. But they're estimating that over 40 million Americans are currently using GLP-1 agonists. That's huge for both diabetes and weight loss. And so that would include things like Ozempic and semaglutide, Mounjaro, Wegovy, all of those. And so we've talked about these in the past, but if you haven't seen those segments, I'll kind of just give you the quick recap. So how these drugs work, like for diabetes, it increases insulin release, which brings down your glucose, and also decreases glucagon release, which makes your blood sugar go up. So it acts in that way. And for weight loss, what it does is they slow gastric emptying, meaning your stomach doesn't empty as quick, so you feel full quicker. And they also directly stimulate the receptors that make you feel full, because there's receptors for that. And there are different versions of it. So some of them work in other mechanisms, but those are like the main gist of it if you aren't familiar with these GLP-1 agonists. And so, with all these people taking it, I'm on social media all the time, just kind of looking around for stories and what's happening. You see a lot of people that are, maybe nervous that so many people are taking this drug that, 5 years ago no one had ever heard of, for the most part. And they're like, oh, what are the possible downsides? And really, there hasn't been a lot, really, if any. I mean, nothing like serious, and like, to this point, it seems that these drugs are very, very safe. And so, people, that are asking, are there downsides? People are also asking, okay, so what are the upsides of this? And there's been some research papers come out about this, and we haven't really dived into those, so this is a great time to do it. But the reason I brought this up today is there was a study that was just released this past week that has some pretty insane results. And Travis, throw up that first clip. So this is a study, came out like last week, I think, from the Journal of Diabetes, Obesity, and Metabolism. And so if you want to look up the study, that's the title. You can just throw it into Google, but I'll kind of break it down for you. So this study is not the absolute best type of study. I mean, are you guys familiar with statistics at all? You probably are with with your health background.
A little bit, but
yeah.
not
Okay.
too
So
much.
like the best would be a double-blind randomized study.
Yes.
Like that's the gold standard. So this is an observational cohort study, which basically that just means is they're taking data and they're trying to break people into groups based on propensity matching. So instead of just like taking two groups and cutting them in half and seeing what one does versus the other, they try to match them so they're the same, right? Because you don't want one group to be a different than the other group, and then the data is not as good. So the thing about this study, though, is even though it's not like the best method, it is a very large study. It looked at over 3.8 million patients that had both obesity but did not have diabetes. And they propensity matched them as close as they could, and they ended up with two groups that each had like between 12 and 13,000 people. Okay. So that's a pretty big study. And then they compared outcomes. And of course, one study were people that were taking the GLP-1 agonists like Ozempic, semaglutide, or whatever, and the other weren't taking it. And the crazy part is there was a huge difference in the two groups. And so kind of the take home was that the GLP-1 agonist group had a dramatic decreased risk of all-cause mortality. And it was pretty dramatic. It had a hazard ratio of 0.23. So what that means in simple statistical terms is the group that was taking Ozempic had a 77% decreased risk of dying.
Okay.
I mean, that's pretty big. Like that's a really big difference. The group that took GLP-1 agonists also had decreased risk of ischemic heart disease, heart failure, arrhythmias, hypertension, stroke, atrial fibrillation, and kidney disease. And of course, you're kind of talking about the same thing, right? Because if you have a decreased risk of those, then your risk of mortality is going to go down.
Right.
And so, these results are, in my opinion, pretty amazing. And but there also are kind of in line with some other studies that came out. And there's a few out there, but I pulled another one. Throw that one up there, Charles, if people want to look at this one. This is from June of last year. Looking at mortality rates for people with type 2 diabetes that were taking insulin that were on GLP-1 agonists. So a slightly different group, but similar. And in this group, all-cause mortality relative risk was 0.49, which basically means a 51% decrease in risk of death.
Nice.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Like I said, it's not a randomized double-blind study, so it's not like the absolute best, and people are already like kind of pointing that out. And the other thing that's kind of not questionable but interesting is how much different this study was than some of the other ones, which there were some studies out there that showed like 20% decrease of death, 50%, and this one's like 77%. And it always like raises some questions of, okay, well, is this because this one is so much better or different? Is there a problem with the study?
Yeah.
But I think the take home is that it's just another study that shows that GLP-1 agonists are actually really, really good for your health if you fall into one of those criteria, meaning obesity, diabetes, so I don't know. It's interesting to see how this has kind of evolved since these things came out. And, you wonder if like you're going to start seeing more and more people get on these things, because it sounds like that there's just so many benefits from it.
Yeah. I've heard that like it's how many people are getting on it now is like making a shortage for people that like need it for diabetic
I mean,
reasons.
that's been a thing forever,
Yeah.
Honestly. And so there is a answer to that problem, and that is the compounding. When drugs are in a shortage like that, even if they're still on the patent or whatever, if they're on a shortage, then and I don't know the exact law because I'm not a lawyer, but it's my understanding that when drugs are on a shortage like that, pharmacies can legally compound their own to meet the demand. And that's what's happening. And we're doing semaglutide in our office. If somebody wants semaglutide, they can come to my office, and I do a consult with them and talk about the pros and cons, and then our compounding pharmacy, we write the prescription and the compounding pharmacy sends it to them.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure exactly how many patients we have on it now, but it's not an insignificant number.
Yeah.
And once again, like everyone seems to like it. I talk to people and I see them when they come back through, and it's like, okay, tell me the downsides, and they're like, well, and this is, they always say, well, it's exactly what you said. And what I tell them is like, the biggest downsides are changes to your, like your bowel habits. You might get some constipation, you might get some diarrhea, as you kind of get used to these drugs, and definitely, you'll feel full quicker, which is, what the drug does.
Yeah.
But everyone's like, yeah, it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
They're not like, it's not like it's, causing harm to their life. So, as of now, like I haven't seen any serious adverse effects from it.
Yeah. All in all, pretty positive.
It has been pretty positive, which is, it's kind of rare that a drug hits the scene like this and makes a huge impact, yet it doesn't seem to have any downsides. And, you always wonder, like, is something going to pop up? But I mean, now people have been on these things these are not new drugs. The first GLP-1 agonist came out, in the mid-teens, right? I think 2014, something like that, maybe even earlier. I think that's when they kind of like became a little bit more mainstream, and then it just took time before they gained enough traction where, now we're talking about them literally all the time.
Yeah.
So, pretty wild stuff. I don't know, what do you guys think? Like, would you think it'd be a good idea to push for more people to be on these? You're in health. What do you think, Sarah?
I think so, just in certain situations where people need that extra positive reinforcement to lose some weight for their health. Because there's some people that are literally killing themselves.
Right, and they just can't do it themselves.
They either don't have the motivation to do it anymore. You know, it's hard to lose weight once you've gotten past a certain point.
Totally, yeah, it absolutely is. Sometimes too, I've seen this where once people are able to lose a little bit of weight, then they're able to get the rest off themselves.
And I think that's what that drug has the potential to do, is just give people that immediate positive reinforcement that they have been looking for. Because sometimes, especially with women, you can lose weight. You can lose 5 pounds one week, and then the next week you've gained 3 pounds back.
Yeah.
and it's for men, it's a little different.
Sure.
Their weight doesn't fluctuate as much as women's, but
yeah,
I could see it definitely helping with people's mental.
Right. What do you think, Trey? Should everyone be on Ozempic?
It's funny. I've been seeing a lot of people, either like on social media or people that I know that take it, getting off of it for some reason.
Really?
Yeah.
Because of problems, or?
Yeah. There was
Tell me about it.
there was a girl. I don't know what issue she was having specifically because I didn't watch the video, but there was a girl that posted a video, basically why I got off of Ozempic, and she was saying basically there was something that I guess wasn't like reacting with her body, or it was some kind of like complication that she was having from being on it, or some kind of symptom that she was having from being on it. So she got off of it. I've been seeing a lot more people, like an uptick in people getting off of it.
If you see any of those, send them to me. I'm curious because
I'll go back.
I personally hadn't seen it, but I'm not saying it doesn't exist.
Now I wish I had watched it so I could see exactly what she said.
If you'd only known we were talking about it today.
What she said, but I've been seeing an uptick of people.
Well, I mean, I will tell you that the people that I've have that are on it, like they do say that there are some changes to their GI or gastrointestinal habits. And, you know, it's possible that people that maybe had very mild issues, so maybe somebody that had like very mild irritable bowel syndrome or, you know, mild gastroparesis, meaning like their stomach doesn't empty great anyway, like the drugs could maybe aggravate it and then it would make the symptoms worse.
Right. Yeah, I could see that.
You know,
sure.
I mean, that could definitely happen. I mean, I definitely, you know, wouldn't say that, you know, everyone needs to take this drug and it's, you know, 100% safe. I mean, I think, you know, when you look at every drug, there's always downsides.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, all the drugs that are out there now that a lot of people take, like, you know, I mean, you know, things like blood pressure medication and you know, SSRIs for depression, like they all have downsides.
Yeah,
you know,
everybody knows those commercials where they say,
I
like,
know. They like say them really fast at the end. It's like,
and
your
you're
head
like-
may fall off, you may get lupus, paralysis. You're like, wait, what?
yeah,
And then there's like a lady on the screen, like looking all inspirational,
Yeah.
like in a field or whatever. And you're like, wait, what's going on here?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it is interesting. I'll have to look in Travis and see if I can find some of those. I would suspect it's GI stuff, meaning, you know, gastrointestinal changes that maybe it was just too much for them.
Yeah.
You know, so, but yeah, I feel like we're going to be talking about these GLP-1 agonists for a while because, you know, one, you got these studies coming out that say that they really are very, very beneficial to your health if you fall into certain groups. And then who knows, maybe, you know, we'll find that maybe there are downsides that we haven't known about. So, all right, well, I just want to do a quick summary on this topic we were talking about today, which is the new research that just came out showing that GLP-1 agonists, which would be Ozempic, semaglutide, Wegovy, and those type of drugs, actually caused a dramatic decrease in the risk of mortality or death in patients who are obese but don't have diabetes. And it was actually a 77% decrease in the risk of death in the group that were taking the GLP-1 agonist versus the group that wasn't. And this study does go in line with previous studies that show decreases in mortality, although the number in this one is larger than those other groups. And of course, the studies look at different subsets of people. But it's just another research paper showing that there are actually some huge, enormous health benefits for certain people to take the GLP-1 agonists above just people taking it for weight loss. So we'll kind of keep an eye on this as research comes out. Over 40 million people are now taking these GLP-1 agonists, and I think we're going to see even more people getting on it as these research papers come out. So we'll keep you informed. Good stuff.
Very good.
GLP-1 agonists. All right, let's move on. This is kind of a fun little segment. It has like a very ominous title, but it's kind of like more, it's more me reacting to something that I saw. We'll all react to it.
Okay.
We'll see. We'll all react to it, not just me. So this is a segment on the top 10 riskiest cosmetic surgeries.
Okay.
Now, we've talked about risky surgeries in the past, so we're not just rehashing the same segment we've already done before. Because the reason I pulled this one is, you know, when I'm doing my research, you know, for segments, I saw a couple articles that were referencing this study. I'm going to put study in parentheses. And let me throw up that next slides. So the Rod Ryan show was talking about 10 riskiest plastic surgeries, and that's New York Post at the top, talking about most dangerous cosmetic surgeries revealed. And so I followed these back to the study that they were quoting, and I didn't really feel like it was a very legitimate study. Like, it wasn't like a study that would show up in like a medical journal. It was, I think, some media people that were just digging through some random data to try and figure out like.
Trying to scare people.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I mean,
Trying to, yeah, just
to gin up a story, you know.
Yeah.
And so, because when I was reading these, I was like, some of these are just unbelievable. So I thought we'd go through them, and I'll tell you what they said, and I'll tell you what I thought about them. So it starts out with the not the least, but the most risk. Starts out with number one, most risky. I didn't even know this was a thing. Like, I mean, it's funny when you're doing this and you find something, you're like, wait, this is a real thing? So the number one was eye color change surgery. Have you guys even heard this?
no.
Eye color change. No, I'm not.
I had never heard of this. This is like totally new to me. Now, of course, to be fair, this is not performed by plastic surgeons. This is performed by ophthalmologists.
Right.
So, I mean, is it I guess you would consider it a cosmetic surgery. It's not a plastic surgery. So, yeah, so this is called keratopigmentation. It costs about $12,000, and it's laser pigment removal and then repigmenting of the iris. And I got a picture I pulled off the internet. That person, I guess I should have pulled the other one. That person had brown eyes to start with.
Oh, wow.
And so that's the after.
That's a big jump.
Dude, it's crazy, man. It almost looks a little unnatural to me.
Yeah, she looks like she's like from Twilight.
From Twilight. What color would you get if you were going to change your eye color?
Aye, aye, aye.
What would you get?
I don't know, like green.
You get green, Travis?
She stole my answer.
Oh, you get green too?
And I couldn't think of one. Okay, like a light brown.
Light brown. You know what I would
really
get?
light
And I
brown.
used to have contacts like this, and I wore them all the time. I would get like a really like bright gold.
You wear gold contacts?
I did. I had gold contacts for a long time.
Why?
Yeah, dude.
You gotta find some pictures of bright gold eye color, Dr. Herman.
I mean, I don't know. I probably could. Okay, so like the ones I had
Where
were.
are you going wearing those?
I wore them everywhere, man. I wore them for years. I loved them. They were really kind of wild looking. But
Yeah, exactly.
but it wasn't like okay. All right, let me
Break
back
it on
up.
fentanyl with gold eyes.
It wasn't like crazy gold. Like it was,
Okay.
but it was gold. Like it was.
Was it like honey?
Yeah, it was probably like honey. Yeah,
Like so light brown?
but like
then?
no. Like when you looked at them, you were like, whoa, what's up with your eyes? Like.
Yeah, are you on drugs?
Yeah, and then so the company quit making them, and I was like super bummed. Like I wore them for like years. I loved them. They were awesome. Like they really kind of matched my like hair, you know, like when I was.
So they were. Wait, Twilight people had those contacts.
Yeah. Well, these were prescription though, because I wear contacts.
Yeah.
For you know.
The
for my-
Twilight people, their eyes were like really, really light,
Yeah.
light brown.
I used to wear, like, all
I
kinds
guess
of
those,
colors.
Those blue ones that you showed me are
Yeah.
more like.
I used to wear all kinds of colors, but I liked the gold the best. They were super sick.
My
Like,
friend in high school had like blue eye color contacts, but
Yeah.
they were like almost like turquoise, like the color you think of
Yeah.
when you think of like a blue lagoon.
Mhm.
That's
I had some blue too. Yeah. We totally
was
derailed
crazy.
ourselves. All right, let's get. I'll see if I can find a picture. It's so hard though with your eye. It had to be really close to see it. All right. So, all right, getting back to this study. So this study claims that there is a 92% complication rate with keratopigmentation.
and you can go blind.
Well, okay, so talking about, and we should probably do a whole segment on this. I don't want to ruin it because I
Or
think
like
this,
you come out with just like black eyes.
I
It's like
mean-
it's just black.
that'd be pretty wild.
No, sir.
Ugh.
There are some real risks to this, like vision loss, blindness, glaucoma, uveitis, corneal abrasions. I mean, there are real risks with this keratopigmentation. But that being said, like if it's done by a skilled ophthalmologist here in the United States, at least on my brief research dig, it sounds pretty safe.
Yeah.
I personally wouldn't do it because it's messing with your eyeballs, and if something goes wrong with your eyeball and you go blind, that's obviously.
So it's more dangerous than getting LASIK.
Well, that's a great question. I mean, because LASIK, is.
They kind of like, if that's a surgery, they like open up your eyeball and do.
We'll do a
mess
segment
around.
on this. We'll definitely do a segment on this. But this 92% complication rate that this article is saying is totally bogus. Unless you're going to backwater, country, and you're having this done in the
Going
back
to
of a
Florida?
van. Well, I don't know about Florida. I found one guy that does apparently a lot of these in Beverly Hills.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I may reach out to him and see if he wants to talk about it. Anyway, so keratopigmentation was number one, but the 92% complication rate is insane. There's no way a surgery would exist if it had a 92% complication rate. That's just insane. All right, number two, thigh lift, okay? I was like, thigh lift, I do thigh lifts. 78% complication rate? I was like, WTF, there's no way. Like, who was doing them? Was it somebody that went blind from the pigmentation surgery that was doing the thigh lifts? 78%?
What exactly is a thigh lift?
What do you do?
Oh, thigh lifts? Oh, we've never talked about these?
No.
Yeah. So when people lose a lot of weight, so people that are, taking Ozempic or people that get weight loss surgery and they have loose skin, like one of the places that some people will collect fat is in the inner thighs, and then when they lose a lot of that weight, they just have like rolls of skin that they are self-conscious about, like they don't want to wear shorts or whatever. And so there's two different methods for doing thigh lifts. Like the kind of simpler way is to make the incision right up in the crease of the groin. You dissect down, you pull the skin tight, and then you close it. And it's good for helping the upper, like 1/3 of the thigh. But for people who really have a lot of weight loss, you have to do what's called an extended thigh lift, where you make the incision all the way down the length of the thigh. And you can take up a ton of skin that way, but then you have a scar that's a little bit more noticeable. But I'm going to tell you, this complication rate ain't nowhere near 78%. That's like literally insane. I mean,
what are they saying the complications are, though?
It didn't go into a lot of specifics. That's why this study is kind of questionable. They mentioned specifically sensation, which, I mean, to me, like that's not. I mean, it is a complication, but it's not. I mean, anytime you have an incision anywhere on your body, you can have numbness. But to me, like that's not really a complication. It's kind of like a side effect of the surgery, because nothing was done incorrectly. It's just if you make incision,
normal.
Yeah, it's normal. It's expected almost.
I've had that every time I've gotten any type of surgery.
Yeah, it's very, very common. But 78% complication rate, that's crazy. All right, number 3, which to me should have been number 1, is
a BBL.
BBL, Brazilian butt lift. So they claimed a 38% complication rate, which is lower than some of these other ones that we're going to talk about, but they put it number 3 on the list because the complications are so much more severe, like death, So they put that one at number 3. In my opinion, that one should have been number 1. We talked about it a million times. Number 4, full body lift, 42%. So full body lift basically is when you do tummy tuck and you lift the skin around the back. So I call it like a belt lipectomy.
Never heard of it.
I don't do them. To me, they're too risky. Like 42% to me is like actually, I wouldn't, that sounds a little high, but maybe not. I mean, because these surgeries carry a lot of risks of like, mostly healing problems and fluid collections, hematomas. I personally won't do them. If somebody wants a full body lift and they want me to do it, you do one surgery, you recover, you come back and you do the other half.
Yeah, so what type of person usually gets that? Like what type of body?
It's people who've lost a lot of weight.
Okay.
Like your average mom who had a couple kids ain't gonna need a full body lift. It's gonna be somebody who's like lost 100 pounds and they're just skin sagging everywhere. And I'll do them, but I break them apart. I won't do them together because I think the risks are very high. All right, number 5, got 2 WTF? Yeah.
You're like WWJD?
WTFs. Injectable fillers, 65% complication rate? What? That is crazy.
Fillers?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know where they got that. I mean, I've been doing fillers for 15 years, and I mean, I'm not sure I've ever had a complication from them that I can remember honestly. I mean, if you know what you're doing, fillers are not rocket science. I mean, there is some artistry to it to make it look good, but
You only usually put fillers in your face, right?
mostly, yeah. I mean, you can do them like in your hands, like when you get like old lady hands, you can do like fillers. I mean, there's other things to do, but for the most part, yes, you're right. But 65% complication rate, that is like literally insane. They were talking about,
I know right now, since so many people are getting fillers, that they're talking about, we've talked about this before when people like overdo it and they have that like pillow face thing.
Oh, it's terrible. Like I hate fillers when they're overdone, but if you do fillers right, like they can be amazing.
And how many times should you be getting, like you should only be getting fillers how many times?
Once every year or two?
If that, right? Like once a year, you think?
I mean, I'm not telling you need to get fillers at all, but like if you want to keep the look the same, the time frame for most fillers are 12 to 15 months.
Okay.
Now, I think people break them down a little bit slower than that. But then there's some people out there, like I've done fillers on a couple people and they come back like 6 months, 9 months later and it's like they're almost back to normal. There's a variability in how quick people break them down.
Yeah.
But like a 65% complication rate, that's just totally bogus. Bogus.
Oh.
Okay, number 6, breast reduction surgery, 38% risk of complication. I mean, that's going to get at least one WTF for me. That's crazy. I've done somewhere between 500 and 1,000 breast reduction.
I would think most people would be very happy because it's like,
It's like literally one of the absolute highest satisfaction rates.
I'm like, a dude made this.
I don't
this
know.
list.
I know, right? Somebody just doesn't like people getting plastic surgery. 38% is way, way high. Now, my one but if the surgeon uses that old school method, I know we've talked about it, but just really, really briefly, like there's two different incision techniques with this. Mm-hmm. I always do a short scar, which basically is kind of like a lollipop. It's a little bit different. It's like a curved lollipop, but it's
I
like,
remember the pictures.
Yeah. And then the anchor is the other one where it's like the lollipop with the big line at the bottom. Mm-hmm. That one, what's called the Weiser anchor pattern, is very prone to healing problems. Very, very prone. And I've had friends who are plastic surgeons that they were only trained to do that, and they quit doing breast reductions because they were having so many complications.
Yeah.
So maybe like a surgeon that's not really great at doing breast reductions is doing the old school way may have 38% risk, but that is, like in my practice, it's single digits for sure for complications, which, all surgeries should be roughly that. So yeah, that one was way high for me. All right, number 7, butt implants. Butt implants are basically not done anymore because of BBLs. They said 22% risk. This one's really believable. Butt implants, so like breast implants, but for your butt, have a huge risk. Like the implants get out of position. Well, yeah, it's because you're sitting on them. Like the pressure. Well, yeah, it's real. Like in the healing process, and then even afterwards, like sitting on those things.
Have you seen those like butt things that they put in like the pants? Like for
in your pants. No.
Yeah, like for the girls that are like modeling.
It should be like inflatable
workout leggings. You know what I'm talking about? Like the girls wearing like the leggings.
I can imagine
for working out.
Yeah.
And like they put fake butt pads in their butt
It's
to
like
make
a lifter or something like that.
Yeah, it's kind of funny.
Yeah, I can totally believe it.
It's
false advertising.
Yeah.
It's like stuff in your bra, right?
It is. They're like these leggings make your butt look like this good.
Hey man, I'm not going to dog people. If you want to do that, go for it. I'm the last person that's going to judge you. All right, number 8, breast augmentation, 14% risk of complication. That's actually pretty realistic, although for people who do lots of augmentations, it should be lower. The biggest risk, as we talked about the augmentation, is contracture, which is scarring around the implant. If you look at all surgeons across the United States, that's a 10% risk. People who do lots of these augs, like in my practice, our risk is like 3%. So, like across the board, 14% risk of breast augmentation, that's probably believable. Number 9 is arm lift, 21% risk of complication. I do lots of arm lifts. That's way, way high. If you're getting 21% risk, if you're getting 21% of your patients having a complication from arm lift, then you're doing something wrong. I recently had a girl I did one on that had like a really kind of weird nerve thing. It's actually the first time I've ever had anyone have that, although it's the stated risk of surgery. I think it's going to go away, but so that would be something I'd be like, okay, that was a complication.
Yeah. I remember whenever I broke my arm when I was a kid, like my whole forearm was numb after the surgery.
Right, because the bone like either torques the nerve or can bang it up. Yeah, that happens all the time. With fractures, it's very common.
Yeah.
Number 10 was breast lift, 10% risk. That's kind of believable. It should be lower than that, especially if you do lots of breast lifts, but 10%. But yeah, those were kind of wild. Like those numbers were just way off. Like I don't know what they were considering complications or. And the study was just like, it wasn't even one I could really like I couldn't get it was just like released information. It wasn't like a study method, like I'm used to looking at.
Right.
So
it was just an article,
Yeah, kind of, yeah. And it wasn't done by like any type of scientist, I believe.
No.
It was just like some random person just
like
looking through data and trying to figure it out. So
trying to make a story.
I guess we'll recap this one too, just for fun. All right, so today we're talking about this article that came out that had these insanely high risks of complications for plastic surgeries. I looked through them, and this study is not like a real medical study. I think it was just some journalists like looking at some data and trying to come up with something. So we kind of went through them on the show and talked about each one. But if you see articles out there talking about really high risks of plastic surgery, they shouldn't be. If you get a very skilled surgeon that's doing your surgery, their complication rate should be very low, and they should tell you what their complications rates are. They should go over it and tell you what's most common and what they see. With anything elective surgery. I mean, you want to be safe and not do something that's dangerous, but in this day and age with skilled surgeons, it is pretty safe. So don't be scared out there, folks. All right, we got one more segment. You know I love a good scandal, yeah. This one's pretty.
That's criminal.
This one's pretty wild,
Plastic
and
surgery
it's
criminals.
not out of our.
It's not out of Florida.
Where do you think a second place would be?
California.
You got it. Good, Sarah. All right. So this is a story about a fake doctor that was arrested for doing plastic surgery. I don't know if that's his mugshot.
Disney villain.
He does. It looks like Jafar.
It really looks like a mugshot.
I think it might be.
And it looks like he's still wearing his
his scrubs that they brought him in with. Yeah, he's kind of got scrubs like me, man. He's looking pretty sharp. All right. So that was, I was going to say doctor, but not doctor, Christian Latour.
He looks like he's like, I play a doctor on a soap opera.
Yeah, right.
Dr.
Novellas.
What was the Joey from Friends? Dr. Drake Ramore. What was his name?
Right. Yes. Boy, that's digging deep.
Yeah.
Yeah, bring it back. All right, love it. So this guy advertised himself as a board-certified plastic surgeon and facial specialist. Throw up his little Instagram there, which is now locked down. He had a lot of followers, 20,000. So you'll notice that like next to plastic surgeon board certified, it has the Argentinian flag. So I think, you know, he was trying to say that he was a board certified plastic surgeon in Argentina, which now people are reaching out to Argentina to see if that's true, and like no one can confirm that this guy really was a plastic surgeon in Argentina. But this guy was arrested last week for illegally performing cosmetic surgery without a license, charged with assault and battery and practicing medicine without a license, which he's facing up to 10 years in prisons. And this all stems from a liposuction procedure he performed in 2021 that was, quote, caused great bodily harm with many complications. Not exactly sure what that means because it didn't go into a lot of detail. On his LinkedIn profile, it says he's a board-certified plastic surgeon in Argentina. Once again, people are reaching out to Argentina and they can't confirm this. But here's the crazy part, right? So there's evidence that this guy has been performing surgery in the U.S. as far back as 2016. Like
there's like no other times that like complications have been reported.
Who knows? I mean, I think this is kind of a tip of the iceberg kind of thing.
It's just weird that whenever you find people that have been doing this, it's like they've just been like, I think I'm going to be a surgeon.
I'm just going to put out a shingle and say I'm a plastic surgeon. It's like that movie. What was the movie with Leonardo DiCaprio where the guy was faking?
But he would fake it being like anybody.
Catch Me If You Can.
Yeah.
I forgot the guy's name, but the guy, that's a real story about some dude that was faked his way into being like an airline pilot or something.
But it almost seems kind of like on the verge of like somebody who's like a psychopath.
Yeah, a sociopath.
Yeah, like somebody who's just like, that just likes to do that.
Yeah, for the rush of it.
Yeah, like just likes to like dissect people.
I don't know, maybe, who knows?
It's so weird.
I mean, if this guy's really been operating since 2016, that means that he's been performing surgery in the U.S. without a license for at least 8 years.
Yeah.
Like, how does that happen? If it's true, I mean, this is, you know, I can't confirm it, but there was a report of him doing surgery in 2016, and then this article talked about him doing surgery in 2021. And, you know, he has an Instagram page that had been active up until it got locked down, I guess, after he got arrested. I mean, this kind of stuff makes me upset because, I mean, this is a total failure of both local governments and, like, medical boards to protect the people.
Yeah.
You know, and I guess you can't throw a lot of shade at medical boards because if the guy's not even a real doctor, then...
Well, it's just kind of annoying because it's like real doctors go to school and they do all of the backup to get there because they actually want to take care of people and help them. And this dude is just like, I'm just having fun dissecting people and screwing up their lives.
Yeah, making money off of it,
Yeah, like he's just doing it purely for himself and not for patients. And
it's pretty wild. I mean, you know, if this guy really is a board-certified plastic surgeon in Argentina, which I'm skeptical, to be honest, but, you know, we don't know.
That would be pretty quick information to find if it was legit, wouldn't it?
You can in America. Like, literally, you can go to American Board of Plastic Surgery, and you can type in Bruce Hermann, and it will say, yes, Bruce Hermann is a board-certified plastic surgeon.
But Argentina's not that. Like, is it considered a third world country?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
But not everyone is, you know,
As-
as technologically advanced, I guess, where you can just do a database search.
Oh.
But if this guy really was a board certified plastic surgeon, then, you know, there are ways that you can convert that to being a surgeon in America. I mean, it's not simple. Like, I can't just go open up a plastic surgery, you know, practice in France.
Yeah.
Right? There's things you have to do.
I've
but
heard it's hard, especially like from people from India when they're doctors in India and then they come here, they have to like redo a bunch of
yeah, they basically
work
have to do
to become a doctor here.
They basically have to do a residence. I think there's ways around it, but the classic way is people would just do a residency here. Like they would train and then, and so it can be hard. Like I'm not saying it's easy, but why in the world, if you're a plastic surgeon in Argentina, where, you know, obviously you can have a very comfortable living, why would you go to another country and then do it without a license?
It was taken away from him.
Where you're going to like, maybe he's running away from them. I don't know. So I don't know. I mean, I'm skeptical this guy's a plastic surgeon at all, but I don't know that. I mean, and they're trying to find out, but no one can figure it out. But like, it's kind of scary that, you know, this was allowed to happen for so long. And, you know, it brings up the question of like, wait, okay, what can you learn from this? You know, how can you protect yourself? Mm-hmm. And so, you know, the number one answer to that is if you're going to have plastic surgery, make sure your surgeon is board certified by the American Board of Plastic Surgery. That's the only real plastic surgery board.
Yeah, and that's online.
It's online. You can
Public
literally go and
information.
search. And if you're a board certified plastic surgeon, they're going to say that, but you have to be careful because people will lie or they'll throw a board up that's not real. So it has to be board certified by American Board of Plastic Surgery. If you go to my website, it'll say board certified American Board of Plastic Surgery. And it's just an issue of educating people of like, okay, that is like literally the most important factor to make sure your plastic surgeon is safe. And of course, you know, it doesn't.
I mean, they're all safe. That just means.
Right. It just means that that's like it's the lowest bar, right? Like that's kind of the low
like
bar.
Bare minimum.
Yeah, the bare minimum. You know, you can't trust social media and websites. People can literally put anything they want up there. You have to kind of do the research to make sure that these people are properly trained and properly certified. And the last thing, you know, and it's not seeming like we talk about this every week, you know, be wary of people who operate in offices.
Yeah.
You know, because if your surgeon's taking you to a surgery center, there are certain protections that you are afforded because surgery centers will not credential someone to do surgery that's not properly trained and certified. They just won't do it unless they're just. I mean, I have seen surgery centers drop the ball, but it's rare. Mm-hmm. And then also too, it gives you another layer of protection because say for example, some surgery center was allowing an internal medicine doctor to do surgery. If something bad happens, you have the ability to sue that surgery center and recoup stuff.
Yeah.
Versus, you know, if it's just you're suing a surgeon, then there's less ability to do that.
Yeah, and
So-
then plus if something really bad happens, like in that case when that girl had like a heart attack pretty much,
Yeah.
and
They
he
didn't do
didn't call
anything.
911.
Yeah, I mean that's the big thing is that there's oversight in surgery centers. Yeah, you're exactly right, Sarah. Thanks for-
emergency
Yeah.
situation,
Yeah.
like the system process will start kicking
Correct.
in.
Yeah,
if
and
something
that
like
doesn't always
happens.
happen in those office ORs. And like I said, I'll say this every time when I talk about this: is there are plenty of very good board certified plastic surgeons doing good work in office ORs, but you know you just never know, right? So
I swear I had my surgery in an office OR, but I was asleep.
you may have. There are plastic surgeons like the legit
was
ones
not
that
awake for
will the legit ones that will have like an anesthesiologist come and put people to sleep. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's what I was.
you may have, yeah.
Yeah.
But crazy stuff, man. It's just wild that you know this guy was basically, I mean, potentially doing surgery for 8 years without a license. I mean, and who knows if he even had training at all to be a surgeon? Like no one knows.
Creepy.
It's wild. Be careful out there, folks.
And but it was easy for him to get away with it because he wasn't like an ugly dude. He looked the part.
He looked the part. Yeah. Yeah. Possible. Yeah.
Easy to manipulate.
Crazy stuff. You got to be careful. That's why we're here.
Yeah.
Educate people so they don't get in trouble.
Pretty people get away with a lot of stuff sometimes.
They do. You're totally right. You're totally right.
I'm a plastic surgeon. Of course you are.
You look like a plastic surgeon.
Absolutely.
All right, I think that's all the time we have for this week. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Please leave us a comment if there are certain topics that you'd like us to talk about it. We would love to discuss it on the next episode of Nip Talk.
Bye.
Bye.